Hi class, so welcome to the course tour video. In this video what we're going to do is just take a quick look at our website in Brightspace from D2L. We're going to just learn how to navigate specifically for this course. Hopefully this is familiar to you if you've taken other courses in the URI Summer Online program before. But if you've not, this should be very helpful. And if you have, there's still one or two things that are a little bit different about this particular PSC 508 policy and grant writing course that I hope you get out of this quick course tour video. So the first thing you'll note is that here is the home. This is PSC 508 policy and grant writing, summer session 2 in 2023. And we'll begin by clicking start here. Pardon me. Start here should have everything you need to know, and it begins with a welcome message and learning objectives. Very simple. We have 7 learning objectives. I give you a quick welcome message. You'll feel free to take a look at that when you get a chance. There's a quick page where you can meet me. I give you a little bit of my background, a little bit of an older photo of me from back before I shaved my beard off, but it's still the one on the website, so it's the one I use. You'll find a welcome video that I recorded for you right here. That's just to welcome you to the course and tell you what we're going to be doing and kind of give you a little preview of the next 7 weeks. I will give you the syllabus and schedule. That will open up right here. You'll be able to leaf through that syllabus whenever you get a chance. And if you have any questions, you can always feel free to reach right out to me. And as you keep going down, what's really new about this and what I want to walk you through most in this video today is this mock request for proposal section. In this course, because it's a policy and grant writing course, I have constructed what I call a mock RFP, a mock request for proposals. And what it is a pretend grant announcement that you're going to respond to throughout the course. So I'm going to walk you through it for a couple minutes. I'm going to spend most of my time on this. I will go through the rest of the Start Here menu after that, and then we'll conclude. All right? So this mock request for proposals, you'll notice I have coming from the National Science Foundation. I make sure you know it's mock. This is not a real grant. This grant does not exist. It would be neat if it did, but it doesn't. So what I call it is broad spectrum policy research, and its nickname is POLRES. Government loves nicknames, right? And they love nicknames for grants. So a lot of times, there's a career advancement grant. Its nickname is career. There's this grant, there's that grant. A lot of times they get a little acronym. This one for policy research, it's POLRES, and I'm going to refer to it as POLRES for the remainder of the course. Okay? You'll notice programs always get a solicitation number. So this one is NSF 23999. It's 999 because I don't think they actually have that many grant applications. I just picked the highest number I could. And it's 23 for year 2023. It usually tells you what it replaces, which is usually last year or the year before, or if there are grants that come out every few years, that might be, say, 2019 if it's a grant that comes out every 4 years or whatever. But this one comes out every year, you can tell, because that's 22, and it had the same number last year. That's not always typical, but in this case, that's what's going to happen. I have full proposal deadline. Note, typically a lot of these federal grants are due at 11:59 at whatever your local time is. I suppose so as not to advantage Pacific time folk or folk in Hawaii over Eastern time folk where time runs a little bit ahead. In this case, 11:59 is going to functionally be Eastern time, right? The rest of Brightspace will be set up for 11:59 Eastern. And the final product will be due on August 20th, 2023. Of course, there's usually some sort of a rule set to when these final things are due, and in this case, I'll just say that. Now, this would not be typical in a real grant assignment, must be submitted in Brightspace, but like I said, this is meant to be a mock grant assignment that's integrated with our course. So if you want to try preparing parts of it with research.gov or grants.gov, you're welcome to. You do not have to. All you have to do is submit assignments on Brightspace. if this were a real grant, you would probably be using something like grants.gov or research.gov all the way through up until submittal instead of Brightspace, for instance. Any proposal submitted in response should be submitted in accordance with the Policy and Procedures Guide, which actually I'm going to teach you a little bit about. So don't stress too much about that, but realize there's going to be a set of rules for how this application should go. And we'll learn about them as we go forward week to week. So what is this grant? This is a foundation-wide activity that offers the NSS most flexible awards in policy research and education that leads to advances in the mission of a department or organization. It's supposed to be a demonstration project in policy implementation or research that can be scaled to other jurisdictions and organizations. What does that mean? I want to be very clear about this. This means this isn't going to be a big enough grant to solve a big national problem. Okay, we're not going to suddenly change the entire world overnight with this proposal. What this proposal will do is give you, if you ask for the maximum amount of money and you're awarded it, about $500,000 over 4 years to run a demonstration project. Now that might be, like I said, pure research. That might be actually just seeing if you can change one neighborhood or one school or run a pilot somewhere. It might be just getting, a small sample program off the ground to show that it can be done elsewhere. But the goal should always be that there could be broader impacts, and that if what you do works, a larger grant could then extend it across a state or across a region or even nationally. Okay? So realize we're starting small, but the potential for whatever it is you do to be replicated at a larger scale later should always be in the back of your mind, and that will help sell your grant as you go forward to write it. In this case, the Cognizant Program Officer is me, right? Dan Carey. And I am going to be the one ultimately who grades you and who judges your materials. There will typically be a program officer and a review board for these type of grants. And you will get that name in the grant application. In this case, if there's any questions, you can always reach out to me. Now, here's something you might have never run into before. A catalog of federal domestic assistance number. This is all over the place because this is an NSF-wide activity. So the government tries to categorize the types of grants it gives out, or the types of activities it gives out grants to do. And it tries to do that so it can track government spending and understand, what types of things are we investing in as a nation. In this case, you might very well be doing social, behavioral, and economic sciences, right? A lot of policy comes down to social science. I'm a political science PhD. We are a social science. If that's the case, and you have to put down a number on the top of your grant application to say what category is my domestic assistance going to be, you could do 47.075. But maybe your project is about STEM education. Maybe your project is about computer science. Maybe your project is actually an engineering project. Maybe you want to do just a small sample demonstration project for the Department of Transportation or something like that. In which case you're actually, completing some form of infrastructure where engineering makes more sense. That's all okay. Whatever it is you're trying to do, there should be one that fits you here. And if what you're doing spans several of these categories, there's always the Office of Integrative Activities, which is kind of the catch-all one, 47.083. Now, you're not going to run into that until you have to fill it out on a form, but you will have heard it here first, and I may remind you as the weeks go on. So the anticipated type of award here is either a standing grant or a continuing grant. What does that mean? It means either this will be a one-time only thing, or if the foundation sees you doing good work and likes it and would like you to continue at that current pace, they could continue this grant. The estimated awards they're giving out are $500 per year, and they have an estimated $250 million to play with in this program. which, if you do the back of the envelope math, is about $500,000 per grant. The annual amount is approximate, includes new and continuing increments, and it's subject to the availability of funds. Which is all to say, you can ask for the moon, they can award you less than the moon, right? So who may submit proposals? Hey, only students in PSC 508. And you must pretend to represent one of the following: an institution of higher education, a nonprofit, non-academic organization. That could be a lot of things. It could be a research lab, an observatory, a museum. It could be a hospital. It could be a professional society. It could be all sorts of things. Or a state or municipal government agency, subdivision thereof, or quasi-public corporation. If you're not familiar with quasi-public corporations, some easy ones you know are, Amtrak, something like that. At the state level, we have the Commerce Corporation, we have the Quonset Development Corporation, we have a lot of other quasi-public corporations like that. And what you're going to have to do in this course at some point is to select, which of these you actually think you would like to represent. Now, who may serve as PI? You. Each of you can serve as principal investigator. As PI, you're going to have to imagine yourself as a representative of one of these three types of institutions, and you're going to actually have to think about what your title is going to be. You're going to have to think about what your institution you're representing's name is going to be. You should try to make it as real as possible. If nothing else, think about maybe somewhere you might like to work one day. That would be fine. If you already work in an organization that qualifies under one of these three and you already have a title and this is something you can see yourself doing, then you don't need that much imagination. If you've never worked for some place like this, you might just have to dream something up. But either way, you should be, thinking about yourself as a person working at this place who's writing this grant to try to accomplish a goal. So proposal preparation instructions. All right? The syllabus guidelines will apply. You're going to have to abide by all sorts of federal regulations and rules. This RFP will tell you them all. It will link out to additional information if you're interested in it. For the budget, a lot of grants come with cost sharing requirements. That means you need cash on hand to match the money that's coming in. In this case, there are none. You don't need any cash. There's no budget limitations except for applicable spending activities, which we will get to later. And like I said, this will be due on August 20th. All right, so I'm not going to walk you through the whole rest of it. You can go and you can read the rest of this RFP. But the rest of this RFP will give you very specific instructions for what the proposal content should be. And every week, some of these are going to be due. So, for instance, week 2, your cover letter and your proposal abstract and executive summary will be due at the end of week 2. How are you supposed to go about doing that? There are some links here that help you. How are you supposed to go about writing a proposal abstract or executive summary? Actually, if you look, and it will take a second to load, there's a form for that. And so you can actually just fill out the form and save the form. In the assignment, it's not always going to tell you whether or not there's a form, whether or not the form's required. Sometimes it will be, sometimes it won't be. Whether or not we'll accept another format. Sometimes we will, sometimes we won't. And so you, throughout this course, should always be referring back to this RFP for rules and guidelines. All right? Week 3, you'll do item 3 here. Week 4, you'll do item 4. Week 5, you'll do item 5. Week 6, you'll do item 6. And week 7, you'll do item 7. All of the remaining items here, you should have worked out as you went along. And if you follow the plan in this course, by the time you're done, you will be ready to submit this grant. So, keep that page in mind. It's in the Start Here menu. Okay? I'm sorry it's loading slowly at the moment. I think we're having some URI Wi-Fi difficulties. Bear with me. It's in the Start Here menu, and it's under Mock RFP. So there it is, Mock Request for Proposals. So always keep that in mind. This course tour video is next. A little example of how the course works, and some technology requirements and Brightspace info are after that. So this really is running very slowly. I apologize. But there's not a lot you have to know in there. The details on how the course works are basically the same across all the different classes you'll have for the online program. Feel free to take a look at that when you get a shot. I hope that it will load in the next minute or two. And once you have finished with all that Start Here material, the next thing to do is just to click on week 1. Okay, week 1, we'll have 2 things, an overview and learning objectives, and a to-do list. All 7 weeks are going to have these same 2 things. All right? The overview and learning objectives, very simple, very straightforward, if it ever loads. Let's go back to how the course works. Very simple. Assignments are due on Thursday evenings and Sunday evenings, always on Thursday and Sunday, always by 11:59. And there is a calendar up front at the course home that has all of the due dates for major assignments. Every week, if you go to the overview and learning objectives, it will tell you the learning objective of that week. It will tell you what's actually due. You'll have an introductory discussion post due on 11:59 on Thursday. You'll have some week 1 discussion questions due 11:59 on Thursday, and you should respond, right, to at least 2 other class members no later than 11:59 on Sunday. So that's going to be how we run that. Now, if I go back to week 1 here, and we go to the to-do list, it's going to be a little bit more detailed. You'll excuse me. Really, this was running much better just a minute ago. Okay, here we go. So it will tell you what we're trying to do that week. It will tell you what we're trying to do next week. All of your readings will be here. I'm going to ask you to read the mock RFP all the way through carefully that first week and read a couple articles. There will be a couple videos, including one from me every week. There will be an introductory activity and a discussion forum post on week 1. Other weeks, you might just have a discussion and a cover letter to write, right? Or a discussion, a cover letter, and an abstract to write. Or a discussion and a project narrative to write. But every week, you'll have something to write. So, as we go back here, if you select week 2, you'll notice in the week 2 to-do list, working on it, we're working on it. Once we get to the week 2 to-do list, you'll notice there are other assignments, right? So I just want to show you those other assignments. I want to click into them so you can see them, and then we will conclude this course tour. Come on now. There we go. So you'll see the readings are different here. The videos will be different. And what you'll have due here are the grant application cover letter and an abstract and summary. Now the cover letter is only a 1-page cover letter. The abstract and summary is a 1-page summary. And so this is going to be pretty easy. But always go back to your RFP. Make sure you're doing it right. Make sure you're doing it in a way that comports with what the grant requires. We'll give you some advice along the way, and I think that'll be everything you need to know. So as to the assignments themselves, here are all of them. You'll have a cover letter, an abstract executive summary, an introduction and organizational description, a project narrative that includes a problem statement and a needs assessment. You're probably going to want a broader impact statement there too. Project objectives and milestones and tasks, and you're going to have to define exactly what those are and learn about the difference between them, and make charts and timelines that comport with the grant timeline that shows what you're going to accomplish by when and exactly what measurements we can take there, and what key milestones you expect to hit along the way. Then we're going to have project methods and evaluation. You're going to have to actually assign staff and personnel, or at least say I'm going to hire consultants or someone to do each of those tasks. And, everything's going to have to work like a project management project. So you have to convince us this will work well, and you have to convince us how we're going to evaluate it. Exactly what are we going to measure to prove success, and how would you sort of stake out what success looks like at the beginning of this project. Excuse me. Finally, we'll create a budget and a budget narrative. That budget should have money for each of the staff that you have listed in your methods section. It should have the money to accomplish the tasks and purchase the materials and services necessary to meet your objectives and milestones. And there should be a narrative that explains all that. So there'll be specific budget forms, but then you'll write a page or two that says, look, the budget says we need this much money for salary, but here we go. Here's the breakdown of whose salaries those are. Here's how many hours we expect them to work a week on this project. Here's the expected output, and here's the tasks we expect to put them on. So it all should be very, very logical, and each one of these pieces of the grant should really fit together, and the whole thing should flow to your final grant submission on August 20th. So you can see all your due dates here. You'll be, chipping away at this piece by piece by piece. It's one page here, one page here. You'll have about 3 pages here, 5 pages here, 3 pages here, 3 pages here, another 3 or 4 pages here. And finally, by the time you're done with it, this will be a pretty hefty grant submission. But it's not too much in any one given week. And that's the important thing to realize. So I'm not trying to overwhelm. I'm trying to break it up into digestible little pieces. And that's the course. That's the course in a nutshell. Now, there's one thing that will be different, one discussion session that will be different that I would like to just point out right now, which is week 6. Week 6, the computer is going to put you into 5 groups. And I'm going to ask you to evaluate your group members' proposals as they stand at week 6. All the instructions will be there on how to do that. And I just want constructive criticism. I just want everyone to make everyone else's proposals better and the best proposal they can be. So we'll work through that. I'll ultimately grade that too. And that way there, week 7, when it comes to submit the final the final item, you have gotten some feedback, not just from me, but from your peers in the group with some advice as to how to go back and do a little editing, a little proofreading, whatever you need. Okay, so that is all I wanted to do for the course tour. That's the entire course. I hope you learn quite a bit, and I hope the course makes sense to you now. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and contact me. But until week 1, we will talk to you then. Bye.